everybody, it's Carrie. Good morning and welcome to stamp class for February 2023. I'm excited to have you here with me. Let me just check something on the technical end right quick. I think things look pretty good. So I'm really glad to be with you this morning. This is a pre-recorded video because we will also be having stamp class at my home about the time that this video is loaded to CT's Craft and Connect group. So just know that we wish you were here with us. We're going to have some fun this morning, but we can have fun crafting virtually too, right? So this month we are using some products from Enjoy the Journey Sweet Collection, and it's found in our new mini catalog. I was trying to find the page for you. Oh, 58. So on page 58, there's lots of samples to inspire you. This is really an outdoorsy, somewhat masculine sweet collection, but it's really, if you have friends that love the outdoors, I think either way, and I've got projects that kind of go either way for us. So we are going to be using the Stamps and Dies, the Designer Series paper today. There's also some really cool embellishments and a twine combo pack. It's a trio, actually, of twine. And I didn't end up using embellishments on these cards. So especially when I'm designing masculine cards, I tend to not use as many embellishments or embellishments. Just keep it really simple. Now, I really like the twine and I like the embellishments, but just decided, and as my process of designing went along, just didn't use them. But just know that they're available. I do have my swatch book. We'll look a little closer at the Designer Series paper right quick. Okay, so if you registered for the class, go ahead and grab your class packet. Looks like this. If you've never taken a class from me before, all of your supplies for the 4 projects are prepped and cut and in your envelopes. Now, there may be some small pieces, so you always want to take some care as you're unpacking your envelope. But that's what you're going to need as far as those supplies. Then you also need like a bone folder, your adhesives of choice, a paper snips, just basic supplies. I'm going to be using Garden Green and Starry Sky ink, as well as Memento Tuxedo Black today. If you don't have those colors, feel free to just substitute something close to it. You're going to find that some of these colors have it's variegated, it's a different tones or shades of the colors, and so you're going to be able to get away with other greens, other blues. It's going to work just fine. You maybe even be able to pull in some purples. So let's take a look at this Designer Series paper. It's really cool. Beautiful color palette. Some beautiful papers to work with. So I think you'll love using these papers. They're really awesome. And then we have the Stamp Die Bundle. Now remember, and I went ahead and copied this so it wouldn't glare on the screen of the video, but remember, when you purchase a bundle, you are able to save 10%. So that's when you buy the Stamps and Dies or Stamps and Punches together. Now also remember the easy button. If you love everything in this sweet collection, all you have to do is enter one item code, and in that case you would get one of each of the products shown on this page. So let's take a little bit closer look at what's in the stamp set. You've got both images and sentiments. Nice big bold fonts. I really like that. And it is a photopolymer set. And then you've got some awesome dies in the die set. So you can already see it does definitely have an outdoor feel. Now we cut out all the dies and Dale made this display for the launch party. Oh gosh, that was back the end of January, wasn't it? Feels like such a long time ago. But I really like having the dies cut out so you can really see what everything does and how it looks. I feel like that helps me as well when I'm designing. So that's a tip for you. If you're just kind of a visual person, to go ahead and cut out all your dies and make a little display, and then that way you've got that. Okay, sorry guys, I've got getting a little bit of a scratchy throat, and I'm not sure why. Let's go ahead and unpack our packet. Now inside, I do always, or try to always, enclose this little slip that tells what class we're doing. So that way, if you're working on your projects later on, you still know. Okay, let's set those aside. Sorry. Well, and as I'm taking everything out of the envelope, I realize I really should show you the project first, right? I'm getting ahead of myself. So excited. So this very first project that we're doing, it's just very simple, and I will tell you that I cased this, or copy and shared with edits, from Kylie Bertucci. She is one of the top demonstrators in Australia and a sweet friend of mine. I absolutely love her and her design style. Her husband Bruno works alongside her, and so when I saw this card, it just really jumped out at me. I love this card. I think it's so very cool because we are just using that designer series paper. It is so, so awesome. And I just realized that I must have grabbed the wrong packet because I should have one with the mountains already cut. 1 second, I'll be right back. Sorry about that. So I grabbed Dale and Oliver to come give me a hand. I don't think I grabbed the right packet, so I need my little mountains cut if you don't mind. Okay. Thank you. So anyway, we'll go back to working on this, and Dale and Oliver will cut that for us. I think there's going to be another one too that I'm going to need help with.
All right.
Okay. And I'm getting just a little bit of a sore throat. Are you?
No, I'm doing all right.
You're doing all right? Good. So let's start first with our basic black card base. And everything's scored and ready for you. We get these supplies ready ahead of time, and then sometimes I forget. So either I switched my packet, or I just intended to do that mountain and didn't. If you want to do it over here, Dee, you can.
That's all right. I'll do it right here.
Okay. Well, we'll put our inside panel. Basic white. And I did on the inside of this card, just because I did have some little strips left over, I went ahead and added that. Thank you. I think there's going to be another card too where I need to die cut. So anyway. So let's add this little strip on the inside. And whenever I do that and just pop that on the bottom, I like to leave just a little bit of space. I used to bring it all the way to the bottom of the white, but I saw another demonstrator do that on a video, and I just like the effect of that. So I always leave just maybe, what, 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. I've got a little bit too much glue there, and I like the way that that looks. Okay, so now we are ready to go ahead and do our stamping. Let's do that next. And be careful, like I said, about your little pieces. You don't want to lose anything. Close my glue right quick. And we will grab Starry Sky ink. Uh-oh, thank you, Oliver. Just dropped my papers. Thank you. We're going to grab Starry Sky ink and our sentiment right quick. Make sure I've got the right stamp. Yes. So this paper is just absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to turn it upside down. So I think that I'm going to be able to, stamping straight on my Designer Series paper. I want to make sure I get it nice and straight the first time. I actually want it on this other side, don't I? Hopefully I'm not getting my head in the camera. And that looks pretty good. Go ahead and close this ink pad so I don't have a catastrophe.
Oh, let's live dangerous.
You want me to live dangerously?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, goodness. My mother used to say, if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much room. That was one of her favorite sayings, wasn't it, Dee?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and... We talked last night, we had Paper Pumpkin Club. It was just a couple of people in our group. It was Mary and Jan, and we talked about ... not a lot. Or at least that's what I call it. I think they just call it ... But I saw Mary tell some people that at a class at their church, and it has stuck with me. Okay, so we are just mounting that on a piece of basic white, and to me that just really brings everything together and really draws your attention to those mountains in the background. It's so pretty. So remember that your liquid glue is a really nice, strong adhesive, and you don't have to have a lot. And by putting the dots in the corners, it gives you a place in the center to hold your cardstock as you're flipping it over. I'm just making sure. I got a little bit of glue on the inside of this one, Dee. I may hand it to you for you and Oliver to work on. So if you don't know, Oliver is our Cocker Spaniel. He is, what, 2.5?
Yep.
And he keeps us hopping. And he might be a little bit spoiled. Would you say?
A little bit.
A little bit? A lot of bit? Is that a word?
Yeah, a lot of it would be
A lot of
probably
it.
a little closer.
Do you mind handing me that die, Dale?
No.
That you cut the mountain with? Let me show them that. I probably could have done that on camera, huh? So this is just a piece just that you can put on your cardstock and cut that little mountain. So you could do that down the side of your card. That would give a nice accent. So just really cool to add that little bit of character and texture there. And then we're going to put our mountain bike rider on. I think this is a really cool die set because you've got those silhouettes. So awesome. I'm just going to put a couple little dots there and position him to where he is coming up over the side of that mountain. So now you can see why when I saw Kylie's card, I just loved it. And one of the great things about being a paper crafter is that we do inspire each other. And so I probably will send her a picture and let her know that we're making this in stamp class. I think that's a really, really cool card. And so easy. All right, that is card number 1. I'm going to let Dale work on the inside of that for me. A little trick that, gosh, I'm trying to remember who taught us that. Cassandra, maybe? Is if you have an embossing buddy, you know, that has the powder on the inside, you can actually apply that. Even with it being black cardstock, it will help absorb some of that glue, and you won't have it being sticky, because right now my card is trying to seal itself shut. So you can do that. We've also got an adhesive eraser. That's not a Stampin' Up! Product, but it's something else that you can use. This glue does dry clear, but it is still tacky. So if you do something like I do and have little oops, try to get that little bit of extra glue off. Okay, we'll let Dale work on that one for us. And we'll go ahead and bring in card number 2. And now my packets are all mixed up since I dropped it. Unfortunately, Oliver did not eat the cards. So this is card number 2, and it's a fancy fold. Now this is just a piece of thick basic white cardstock, and then we have scored over at the side so that we have this little piece that comes across, and then are able to add our focal image there. So it gives you that beautiful paper with the trees. Almost looks like a misty mountainside, and then you've got your focal image. So just a very simple card once again, but sometimes that's what we need to do, is just kind of scale it back a little bit, right? So let's get all of our pieces out, and again, watch for any small pieces.
It's hard to edit sometimes.
It is hard to edit sometimes, and that's something that Dale does remind me of. I'm not very good at it though, am I?
Sometimes it just needs
Excuse me.
a few more embellishments never hurt.
That's kind of how, that's kind of our motto, isn't it? So let's go ahead and burnish these score lines good. So this is a fun fold even without that focal image on it, but I particularly like having that focal image. Now I'm going to zhuzh this over just a little bit because that is impeding that side from closing. So that's better. I like that better. And you'll just have to work with this, because with it being the thick basic white, there is, you know, quite a bit of material there, but just keep burnishing. And as you make your card, definitely once you send it through the USPS, it'll be fine, right? It will be flat after that. Right?
After it runs through the machine a couple times, it'll be flat.
It will be flat. They'll take care of that part for you. Oh, the USPS. We gotta love them, right? Although we have really nice people that work at our post office, don't we, Dee?
Oh yeah.
They really are. Sometimes Dale goes toe-to-toe with them, though, on shipping charges. All right, just going to center that up pretty well. Make sure I try to get that as even as I can. So I'll show you, too. You can see that this piece is a little bit lighter in color. It's just a little bit further up on the page of Designer Series paper. Still think that looks really, really pretty. We have been able to go to Colorado a couple times for vacation. And we went just this past July and spent a week up there with James and Tara. And it was just, oh, it's so awesome up there. It's just so beautiful. Now we're going to go ahead and add this piece of garden green cardstock over to the side. You could certainly use another piece of Designer Series paper if you wanted to, or you could emboss this piece if you wanted to add just a little bit more. But I'm keeping it simple this time, like we talked about. But again, don't forget that having a layout like this in your crafty ideas is always good, because this could be used with any of your papers that you have. It's a great layout, and it's one I don't know that I had done before, so I was glad to find this, and I don't remember exactly where I found it, but was glad to find it. Well, I'm really getting glue everywhere today. Okay, let's bring our Garden Green ink pad in. And I've got a couple more stamps that we're going to bring in. One for the sentiment, and then one for these gorgeous trees. And I'm thinking I need to work on getting this on my block a little bit straighter. With photopolymer stamps, that gives me a good chance to tell you and kind of remind you what you want to do is set your photopolymer stamps down and then bring your block to it. So that's especially important when you're using a sentiment, because you don't want to accidentally kind of pull and twist or distort that. And so by letting those stamps sit down for just a couple seconds, they kind of go back to the state, their natural state. Would that be the way to say that, Dee?
Oh yeah. To their relaxed
Yes,
state.
their relaxed state. And so then you're able to get a better alignment of your stamps. So again, I'm just stamping this upside down so that it's closer to me because of my video camera and everything up above, but that's a good tip too. Sometimes that just works well to use the stamps upside down. Sorry y'all, Oliver is tired and a little bit cranky. So then we'll go ahead and ink up the stamp for the trees. And I'm trying to make sure I've got them going the right direction. And I'm just going to come over here to the right a bit. And put some pressure. Definitely let that ink transfer, so wait about 5 seconds as you put the pressure, and those are really, really pretty. Now I did stamp on my original card inside as well, so that's up to you if that's something that you like. I don't stamp a lot on the inside, but that was kind of nice to have that image in there too. Those trees are just gorgeous. And Stampin' Up! Puts all that detail into the stamps. So you just ink that up and stamp it down. Stampin' Rockstar. So now we're going to mat this piece with some Garden Green. I know these aren't really true monochromatic cards, are they, Dee?
No.
But we're just using like the blues or the greens. I really like that. Okay, so now we're ready to add this piece. And I just thought I could share with you that you've got a couple of different options here. I may need your help again in a minute. So you can bring this all the way over to the right side if you want to, or you can center it in your card. You could bring it up just a little bit. You can bring it down. That's kind of how I did it here, was more centered. So this time, I think I'm going to bring it down a little bit. I thought about bringing it over, and I may do that just so that I have that done 2 different ways. It's really up to you though, what you like. So I'm just going to kind of put my finger there so I have some idea how far over I want to come with my glue. I don't want to adhere my card shut, right? That's never happened. And I'm going to actually bring mine all the way over, justify it all the way over. Give that glue a second to dry. And that really lets the Designer Series paper show a little bit better as well. So here too, gonna have to kind of zhuzh and make sure that this lays flat. But I like the way that looks. I think that's just a really pretty, simple card. That would even actually make a pretty Christmas card, wouldn't it? Okay, that is card number 2. We're just clipping right along, y'all. Now this third card, when I originally thought about it, I thought about using the tint. There's a tint die. And then I decided just to keep it super simple and show you that even though these are really kind of outdoorsy and more masculine, it doesn't always have to be that way. So for this card, we're just using a piece of Designer Series paper as our sky and then adding a couple clouds. And I did ink the edges of the clouds, so I'll show you that. That's something that I learned years and years ago when I first became a paper crafter. And I think it was even as I was scrapbooking. And I know a lot of people really love inking the edges. It just adds so much depth. It's really cool. Not everybody does love that though. So if you're not a fan, I think it's okay not to do it. All right, let's get these pieces out. And here we've got the beautiful Starry Sky cardstock. And I did this one at 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2. So it's going to open this way. And then just checking on my pieces here. I've got my inside panel. And on this card, I did go ahead and stamp the stars like a starry night on the inside. That's completely up to you if you want to do that. If not, you could also add some more Designer Series paper on the inside, couldn't you? Oh, look at me, I'm using too much glue. Need to scale it back. The other thing that I did on this was I cut the basic white cardstock to 5 by 3 3/4. And I did that for the inside panel as well. So it's a little bit smaller than what we would normally use. And I don't think I have that very straight, do I? That's better. A little bit smaller than what we would normally use. But that way, as I was cutting, everything, the white was all the same size. So didn't want to make that confusing. And sometimes it's good to do something a little bit different, isn't it? So we'll put this piece of basic white on the outside. And again, just having that little bit of larger blue border, I feel like that really draws your eye into the center and you see more of the focal image. I like that. We'll have to try that one day, just work with the different mats that we have. What have I done with my sentiment piece? We will have to try that one day with matting. I saw an example of that several years back of what a big difference matting makes, and it really is pretty cool. How about I look in my envelope? Just 1 second, guys. Looking for my clouds as well. We may have to move on and I'll come back to this one. So let's go ahead and add this. Oh, I know why, because I need to cut them. This is the other one that we're cutting in our class. That's why. Like I said earlier, I think I started to say we prep all of this ahead of time, you know, so we can get it shipped out. And I don't know, my memory is just not what it used to be. And so I forgot that we're going to, in our class, we're going to be cutting our sentiment, and we're also going to be cutting our clouds. So let's go ahead and stamp our sentiment. Let me close my glue. So that is not stopped up when I go to use it again. Alrighty. And this should be the stamp that I need. I should be able to stamp it this way. And that will give me plenty of room to die cut that out. Nice. And I just kind of set my stamps over on my chamois as I'm working. And that almost makes them kind of self-cleaning, so you can see that a lot of that ink is already off of the stamps. This makes it super simple. I'm going to set that aside for just a second. Close my ink pad. And then let's just set this aside and we'll work on the next one. I'll die cut that in just a minute. Okay, the final card, our fourth card, is my absolute favorite. I've really been having a lot of fun with Fun Fold cards in February. So I was telling Jan and Mary last night at Paper Pumpkin, I did a Fun Fold the very first week on my Facebook Live in February, and I decided the next week I would do a Fun Fold, and I thought, you know what, Fun Fold February, that's a thing, right? There's my helpers, they're back. Okay, this, would y'all cut me a couple of clouds?
Sure.
And then die cut this, and it comes from the, oh gosh, the Fancy Flora,
Okay.
that label set. Thank you. So anyway, we've been making Fun Folds this month, and I was not quite sure exactly what to do with this paper. This is Pumpkin Pie, and it's a color I don't use a lot unless it's more at fall and Thanksgiving time frame. So I thought, how can we use this paper? And you know, it also has the pink on it as well, but I thought this was a really cool way. And in my mind, I just was thinking about the mountains and how you'd have the mountain climber and the tent, and I wanted to use all those components on the card. So I thought this was really a cool way. You can see how that works, because it looks like he's right there by the tent, but then here he's over looking at the mountain. So I thought that was really cool. There's still room for you to write a greeting if you want to, and if you press that down, you would still be able to write. There's not a lot of room, but you could also add a panel at the back if you needed that extra space. And then just stamp the sentiment there. So let's go ahead and work on this one while Dale die cuts for us. And again, be careful of your little pieces. I couldn't figure out where my clouds and stuff were, Dale. And then I remembered that when we do stamp class, we decided to let them die cut their own.
Are those dies up here or they're right here?
No, they're right there. They're inside the stamp case, the ones that I did my presentation. Got them? Now you remember, I was telling them my memory's not what it used to be. I was thinking that I grabbed the wrong kit, but that's not it. It was the fact that we were die cutting, and I should have set that up for, but they know how to die cut. So then we're going to fold this back. It's a really simple layout. Just really burnish that well so that everything will lay down. You'll have to let me know what you think of this card. I know the colors are a little different, But I thought it was really cool. So just to kind of give us an idea of the layout, we want our mountains over there on the left. And then we've got this piece that's going to be here for our greeting. And then we're going to do our stamping over here. So let's go ahead and do that stamping. Get that done. And I may turn this to where I've got more of the pink. I think that really should be that way. Alrighty. Let's see here. Bring my piercing mat back in. And I think again, I will turn that upside down to do my stamping. Make sure that's inked up really well. The one thing about stamping on designer series paper, you know, you really just get one shot, so unless, well, there's always a way around it if you mess up, right?
Oh,
Always. Okay, so I'm going to stop and think about this. Yes, that's where I want that stamped, is up in this corner. So that when the card's closed, you don't see it. Looks pretty good. And we'll close that ink pad up, that memento. So don't have an accident. Thank you very much. Our assistant has come back, so let's jump back to this one. That's not really the best way to do that, but somewhere I have a sponge dauber. Let me find it. And I told you we would talk a little bit about inking the edges of our clouds. So I'll show you by putting this on this card and bringing it closer to the camera. I think it really does make a difference when you add that ink. Now it's totally up to you, but I really like it. So our sponge daubers are great because you can just slip that right on the end of your finger and then just tap it into the ink gently. And it may not look like you have much, but you can always add more ink. So start gradually and just brush it across the edge of the clouds. And you can add as much or as little as you like. And our ink dries pretty quickly, so you don't have to really worry about it smearing. But what I like about these sponge daubers, it gives it kind of a feathery look. It kind of pulls that ink into the cloud, so really pretty. This little one's going to be a little bit tricky because it is just so little. We'll just add a little ink to it though too. There we go. Let those dry for just a second. Sorry to be kind of jumbled and going back and forth, but we're going to make it work. We'll add our sentiment with dimensionals, of course. You have a favorite card this time, Dee?
Yeah, I did.
You like the mountain climber, or you like a different one?
Very well, yeah, I think it's the mountain climber.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think this time I'm going to bring my sentiment over here. Just to kind of mix it up a little bit. And then bring our clouds over here. And I kind of like having this one go off the edge of the blue a tiny bit. I don't know, that's just what I like. Now you may also have a sponge. We used to have sponges that we sold that you could cut into wedges. and you could add ink that way. We also were working on something earlier and just kind of dipped the edge of the die cut in the ink, and that will work as well. Just have to be careful, but we're not scared of getting ink on our fingers, are we?
No.
No, I'm not. And that dimensional is, I'm just going to have to tuck a little tiny piece back, make sure it doesn't show. I'll add that. This one I'll do kind of like this. Now, if you wanted to add some rhinestones, a little bit of shimmer shine, I would not be opposed to that. Like I said, I went without a lot of embellishments this time, really no embellishments this time. Kept it super simple, but you could add to this if you wanted to. So there's our version with it, the sentiment on the other side. So either way. Let's go back to our mountain climber now, and we'll start adhering panels. And I think I'm actually going to come over here to the right and start with this one. So let me know what you think on this paper. At first, like I said, a little bit intimidating for me. The colors are not what I would typically choose, but it really does work. I like it. And you know, sometimes I see friends on Facebook posting pictures of sunrises and sunsets or the mountains, and it really is gorgeous colors. So I don't know, would this be more of a sunrise or sunset, D? Either?
It could be
Either or?
Yeah. Because I've seen them both.
Just so pretty. Up in Colorado, New Mexico. We have some pretty places in our country, don't we?
Absolutely.
Okay, so one more panel. And again, just making sure that your mountains are on the outside, if that's where you want them. I think it'll be easier to do this one this way so I get my borders even. And let that dry for just a second. I think that scooted on me. Let's look at that again with it closed and make sure my paper is straight. My border's pretty good. Okay, so now we've got just a couple more pieces. I may have lost my mountain climber.
People?
I don't know if he's still in the envelope. Nope. I don't see him. I'm telling everybody to be careful, and then I go and lose pieces. I don't see him. Okay, let's go ahead and adhere this piece on our tent. Now this is Mango Melody cardstock. Not a color that I choose very often, but I'll tell you, when you put this overlay of the tent on here, it brings back some memories of some scouting days. That really does look like a tent. So just some black cardstock on top, and I'm just putting a couple of little dots of liquid glue Now it's a strong adhesive, so we don't have to have it all over. And it will give it a little bit of dimension to not have all of that adhered down. And I like that. Just get your little tint all lined up. What's that brand of tint? Is Coleman in the tint too? I know they make a lot of like the cook stoves and stuff, but
And
what?
they like, yeah,
They make tents too?
yeah,
Like the little pop-up tents and all?
yep.
Okay, we'll set that down and let that dry for just a second. And now we need to work on the mechanism. And this is scored for you. But let's burnish it with our bone folder. So you're going to notice that it is scored the same as your card. So 5.5 and then 2 3/4. So this is actually could be still attached when you're scoring it, and then just cut this off. Now, right now it lines up perfectly, but that's not what we want to do. We want to flip it so that it becomes that mechanism. So what we're going to do, whoop, I'm not doing it right, am I?
No, you got it right.
Do?
Yeah.
I have to stop and think about this, y'all. So it's going to come over, and I find it easiest, well, let me first get this on. That would make more sense, wouldn't it? Thank you. I've got a mountain climber again. I may have knocked him off. So what I did to be able to ship this to you is I went ahead and folded it, kind of lined it up at the end with just a little bit of space at the end of the black, and then folded that over so that I could get it into the envelope without messing it up. So go ahead and adhere that part first, that longer piece. And I did better if I did this just a little bit at a time. And just leave a little border on the end and then the top and bottom. And get it lined up. We'll give that just a second to dry. So like I said, that is the part where I put that fold in there for you. May have to zhuzh it just a little bit. Okay, and then we'll just keep working now down that strip with just a little bit more glue. Just lining everything up. And now you'll have to bend it at that other score line. So the way that I attached this, that I found it the easiest, was to bring it over here to the left side. And remember, you've got your longer part that you're attaching. And you're going to justify it all the way over to the left. Now, on this card, I brought it to the bottom, but it's really wherever you want to put it. The mountains are what kind of dictated for me that I wanted it lower down, but you could bring it up some. If you were using a different paper that had more of a pattern up at the top, you could even bring this up and center it if you wanted to. But I'm going to do what I did the last time, and I'm going to bring it down to the bottom. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue across there. And just make sure that that is all lined up on the side and the bottom. And you'll want to give it a second to dry. This is not right, Dale. Yeah, it is. No, it's not. It's not working right.
See if we just say it, please.
See, it comes all the way to the edge. What'd I do wrong?
Something, I fold in the wrong spot.
I do.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Give me just a minute. Like I said, there's always ways to fix stuff. Was it scored there?
It's just scored in the
Uh-oh. Well, I may have messed those up. Okay, so now we're going to add glue here. And I'm just going to bring that mechanism over to this other edge. And I'm going to use my bone folder to try to get rid of that little sin where I folded it in the wrong spot. Okay, so we are ready to add our tint. And I did put that on with dimensionals. I'm almost out of this sheet of dimensionals. We'll just use those three. So if your mechanism is scored wrong, I apologize. Just bring it over to the edge when you're folding that piece back, and it should be fine. Just bring it over to the edge, and that's how you want it to look. So we'll add our little tint. And then we've got our mountain climber. And he does have, what is that called, Dale? That little...
ladder.
No, he's got a little pole that, like for climbing.
A trekking pole.
Yes. So you want to just place him where you like him. I'm going to probably bring him back just a tiny bit and think about where he will be once you open your card. And I just put a little bit of liquid glue on his feet and then his lantern. Just a tiny, tiny bit. Even kind of brush the tip of the glue across the lantern. And I'm going to bring him right about there. Okay, perfect. There he is at the tent. There he is looking at the mountain. Now again, if you wanted to add some type of bling, if you wanted to, make it a little bit fancier, you can, but I liked it just plain and simple this time. Okay, let me go ahead and bring in the other cards that we created. I'd love to know which one is your favorite. I just think they're awesome. especially for those that love the outdoors. And again, this is great paper to scrapbook with as well. Just easy peasy to put your pictures on this gorgeous paper and scrapbook vacations that you've taken and that type thing. Okay, hope you enjoyed class this month and hope to see you again next month. Let me know if you have any questions, and Dale and I would be happy to help you if you do. Thanks so much.